Looks like you already visited At Home this spring. The patio looks great, but why the makeover?
Because we're hosting the block party, because Sunday dinner's moved outdoors, because, Hunter's graduation and Emily's baby shower, and because sometimes I can just sit back and enjoy it.
Explore At Home's expanded selection of patio decor, like cushions starting at $9.99 and garden themes from modern to coastal. At Home, the home decor superstore. Any style, any budget, any reason to redecorate. Visit one of our 2 Raleigh-Durham area At Home superstores today.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
Welcome, everybody, to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports. When we call the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Glad to be back on the air here this Monday night. I tell you what, we got a lot of things. A lot of things to jump into tonight. It was an interesting weekend in the sporting world. God, I tell you. One of the reasons why I love doing what I do. Never a disappointing or dull moment in the sporting world. Between Tom Brady and the 4-game suspension being reinstated, even though it's all speculation, like you have no proof. Steph Curry down for a minimum of 2 weeks. I understand that the injuries weren't related into the fact that his ankle had nothing to do with the injury that he just suffered. But with that being said, I still would have not put him in until he was 100% or San Antonio, whatever came first. And there's no doubt, there's no doubt that San Antonio or Golden State could have made it all the way till San Antonio. There was no reason that there was a rush for Steph Curry to be back on that court. That was the only game Houston won to this point was a ball that had Draymond Green had dribbled off his own leg, and the shot that Houston made was still even controversial whether or not it should even count it. And so it was pointless. Like I don't know. Cleveland Cavaliers sweep the Detroit Pistons. Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Samantha Busch. Tell you what, there's a big to-do about Samantha Busch saying shit. Saying shit. You know, shit happens. And I apologize for those over there at the I-95 network. I don't know their if the shit word is allowed and how disruptive that's going to be when they replay this tomorrow, rebroadcast this tomorrow. But part of the sporting world, so I got to talk about it. And a couple of those stepped in to have her back. I thought that was interesting. We talked a little bit about that. Rubbing is Racing, 7 p.m. about 2 hours ago. If you guys missed it, you guys might want to make sure all you NASCAR fans, you tune in every Monday night, 7 p.m. for Rubbing is Racing with Steve Billmeyer and myself. So make sure that you guys check that out. But we talked a little bit about that. But got many topics we're going to jump into. Make sure you guys check me out on Twitter, at CJSports1. Check out the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation. Also, check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. The 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nation.com. sports.com, and also check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Monday. You know, normally I'm off on Mondays. Normally Mondays don't bother me, especially today. Today was beautiful. It's like, I don't know, mid-70s, maybe low 80s. I don't even know how warm it is. It's a beautiful sunny day. Normally I don't have the Monday morning blues like everybody else does. Like that's you. Normally I'm off. Normally this is my day to do laundry, to chillax, to watch the race. If I didn't catch it Sunday, it all depends on what my schedule is like on Sundays. Like this, yesterday I worked 5 to 5, and at points it was a struggle. And I said the race was boring. I don't want to take anybody takes it the wrong way, but I only had like 5 hours sleep leading up into when I cut off Sunday night. So that part, it was a struggle for me to stay awake, and I would have went back and caught the part of the race that parts of the race that I would have missed if I would have fell asleep for any significant amount of time. But I didn't. It was kind of 5 laps here, maybe 10 laps there, kind of goes off things. It was nothing that I really missed. Just had a lot of things going on this weekend. Normally, I don't work Fridays. Normally, I'm off on Fridays as well. I had to work Friday, a long shift on Friday, because Saturday I had to take my daughter to one university right before the Virginia border here in North Carolina to go fill out her classes. So my day off shifted from being off on Friday to being off on Saturday. Well, Mr. CJ Sports, you still got a day off. Well, I understand that, but I also had to be up. And I don't sleep good on Friday night. I'm so used to doing the show and being up until when I finally get everything downloaded. If I don't have difficulties, which lately there's been a lot of complications in the last couple of shows. As a matter of fact, I-95 didn't get because of complications. I'm up until sitting in front of the computer until between 12 and 1 o'clock most nights, getting stuff downloaded and getting stuff sent over. And then I got to wind down, and if there's any sports I got to catch back up on that I missed during the show. So most nights I don't get to bed until like almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and so I'm used to being up that late. And so when I open on Saturdays normally, go in at 5 o'clock in the morning, I am lucky to have an hour of sleep because I very rarely get sleep before 2, 3 o'clock on a Friday. Usually during the circumstances, even if I dozed off, I'm woken up around 3 o'clock and up until 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then turn around and goes back off until about 4:45, when it's only about a 5-10 minute drive to work. And so this Friday obviously wasn't much of a difference. I got to go to sleep a little bit earlier. I got to doze off. I think I dozed off like between 1 and 2, but I was, back up at 3 o'clock, dozed back off at 4, and I was back up at 6. I still had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because I had to go pick the daughter, and I'm the one that unfortunately had to do all the driving as well. So it wasn't like I could go back to sleep. Now, I did doze off about 10 minutes in one of the segments of Saturday in the auditorium. They were doing a general conversation, discussion. Her mother was with us, so she did more than paying attention. I kind of got to do the sleeping a little bit, dozing off there for a few. And then by the time I got back, it was 9, 10 o'clock, and then by the time I got done picking up somebody from the ER, it got to be midnight, 1 o'clock, and by the time I got to sleep, it was like 2 o'clock, and then I had to turn around and be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday and work 5 to 5. So needless to say, by the time Sunday night rolled around, it was a struggle. But I went back and caught the race, and then I made it through the Cleveland Cavaliers sweeping of the Detroit Pistons last night as well. And as a matter of fact, I think I still was up until a good decent hour before I finally called it night. It was probably about 1 o'clock again anyway. And so today it was like, I normally I'm off today. I had to work 10 to 4. And then I caught me like an hour and a half nap. And of course, then we had the show and got another show and everything going on. So Wednesday is my new day off this week. This is my doing. I have a bouncing gig in Chapel Hill. Got to babysit a bunch of frat boys, so that ought to be fun on Wednesday. I'm not going to complain. It's a day gig, which is good. It doesn't interfere with nothing. It was kind of one of the reasons why I haven't been doing bouncing gigs in a while, I've had a couple, more specifically the guy that I'm working for this weekend, best friend. The guy that I tell you guys about that we text back and forth. He was the one that actually let me know about the Steph Curry injury. We text every day. We usually just talk sports. He's actually been trying to get me back into the security business for quite a few weeks now, even a month. And, due to the ride, due to the situation, I just hadn't been able to. But the late nights, you guys got to understand that once upon a time when the job that I got let go of that led me even getting into this whole thing, I was putting 70, 80 hours a week in there, and then I was bouncing 3 or 4 nights a week. I wasn't getting any sleep. Granted, the money was great. I was bringing home between $4,000 and $4,400, or $4,000 and $4,400 a month, bring home cash in my pocket. Could not complain about the money. I wish I would have spent it more wisely and saved it and invested in better things than what I did. I kind of pissed through it all, to be honest. And also I was also taking care of 4 people in a household as well with the only income. So that obviously that had part to do with it. But the lack of motivation is the prior job, the bouncing gig that I had also had been trying to get me to come back on Friday and Saturday nights. But sorry, I enjoy being on the show on Friday nights. I enjoy to have my Saturday nights free. Not that I do anything. Usually either I babysit or I sleep. That's really it. Every once in a while, I get my son or daughter on a Saturday and do something with them. But usually Saturday nights, it involves me just chillaxing and really not doing anything. But Wednesdays, a bouncing gig during the day, 11 to 5, can't complain. Frat house usually pays really well, really minimum work. So looking forward to that. Got to take care of a seatbelt ticket because we live in a world that you have the right to be a homosexual or not. You have the right to kill a baby or not. How they trying to make it in North Carolina that you could be a dude and go in the female's bathroom and be a female go in the dude's bathroom. Which anybody listening to the show, I'm going to go ahead and let you know if you have a business and you follow suit when the law, if it changes, and you make it so your business allows grown men to be in the bathroom with my daughter, I will not be supporting your business nor stepping into your facility. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that right now. But you have all these rights. You can worship a hand on the ground. I mean, you pretty much have any right that you possibly want in this world, but I don't have the right on whether or not I want to wear a seatbelt or not. That just blows my mind of all the rights you have in this world, and I don't have the right whether or not I feel that it's in my best interest to have a seatbelt on or not. Now, in all fairness, I was on the stop sign. I just took my seatbelt off to make sure that I had my receipts to go to do the autism event that we went to last Tuesday and make sure I had the receipt. And it was at a particular part of the road that normally people speed through there. There's kind of a gap. People assume that it's 55, and it really is still 45. When you cross over the main road, they just assume that it jumps up, and it doesn't. And here you pass me at the last second as I'm stopping at sitting at a stop sign, and that's what you focused on. But anyway, Wednesday was supposed to be an opportunity for me to put a little money in my pocket, maybe do a little something here for 110 Nation, and unfortunately it turns into me paying for a seatbelt ticket is what it's going to come down to, and pay part of the seatbelt ticket because I'm not making $179 in this gig, but so kind of a wasted day, but it's a day that takes care of a ticket that was unrelated to that, so kind of got to do it regardless at this point. So, but anyway, that's kind of how the weekend went. That's kind of why just that. But we definitely got plenty to talk about. Well, let's start first with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Congratulations, Cleveland Cavaliers. You are into the next round. You beat the Detroit Pistons no matter what they try to throw at you, no matter what, if their coach is bitching, moaning, and crying because they felt that the fouls weren't being called down the middle, which, one, it's LeBron James. You're going to get calls like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Like I said before, when I watched Michael Jordan literally just take his hand and shove I want to say it was Greg Elo or whatever his name is, with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but shoved a player to the ground so he had a wide-open three-point shot to win a game, and it was never a foul called. I understood at that age that certain players just get away with more. Not that I feel that it was lopsided. I felt that the calls were pretty down the middle. I think both teams, the players got a little too wrapped up into the calls and try to be a little too dramatic at times, but pretty much down the middle. Even with watching the video and watching Marcus Morris and Andre Drummond try to be bad boys and try to be throwing elbows and getting rough, and try to get a little physical. It is what it is. I mean, there's nothing but two big pansies. I've never seen two big men, maybe outside of Dwight Howard, that got pushed around by little men as much as they did, try to act hard, and really are oversized for JJs. I mean, it's really all they are. To be expected. I mean, you had Johnson, who honestly thought that he was in LeBron's head, and he didn't do nothing all series long. And after he opened his mouth, he kind of it really even got worse for him. Kind of the point of why you don't talk garbage until you've made your point and you've let your performance speak for yourself. That was one of his gripes. So LeBron don't talk nothing on the court until they're up by 16 points. Well, yeah, he has all the right at that point. His complaint was you don't talk garbage when there's 0-0. Well, there's nothing to talk. You've not done nothing. Nobody's done nothing. And so point kind of made at that point, with the series. It's why you don't talk garbage. You don't talk about being in someone's mind until you're winning the series or you won the series. Because it's all meaningless up until that point. And LeBron lets it all, go between the four lines and puts it all on the court. J.R. Smith, you scare me to death. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, you are very streaky. You started off this way last year, and I understand this season has been one of the best seasons for you. I understand that you set a new Cleveland Cavalier franchise record of three-pointers made, and I hope it continues, but I do fear the fact that you are streaky, that when you go cold, where is that going to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers? Because we are relying heavily on everybody with three-point capabilities. Kyrie Irving having a series for the ages, doing very well. Kyrie Irving has obviously come to be an impactful force on the playoffs, an impactful force for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So definitely been satisfied with that. Kevin Love, it seems like they finally found the role that needs to play. I wish Tristan Thompson would be a little more productive on putting some points in. I know that's not what he's there for. I would like to see him maybe put a little more points in, a little more physical. I felt as pansy-fied and much as you could push around big men, I felt at times there should have been a little more physicality. There should have been a few more rebounds. That the Cleveland Cavaliers should have ended up with and didn't end up with. I noticed they went away with Mozgov, and that was great because Mozgov was another one of those that rebounds. He was not getting the rebounds he should have been getting. So glad to see they went away from that. Glad to see that Chaney Frye got to get a little court time. I think that key as this series continues on. I think he's going to have to be impactful force. I wish they could get James Jones out there a little bit more. Dellavedova, of course, doing what Dellavedova does best. So all around, very impressed with what we've seen out of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and looking forward to see what round two brings. Now, right now they got us slated to go against either Atlanta or Boston, which I'm not quite understanding how that works, as I had assumed we would play the next lowest seed. So I would think that that's still up for debates on who we play. I would assume that would leave us either Charlotte if they got past Miami or someone else. But obviously I don't know. So and we're going to look at the seeding of the NBA playoffs, but I just would assume that the number one seed always plays the lowest seeded team. Kind of how the NFL works, and obviously it doesn't work necessarily the same when it comes to the NBA, because we should have an idea who Cleveland's even playing at this point, with Charlotte having the possibility of tying the series up. And I tell you what, I know that it's not always a great thing for teams to have an opportunity to rest and get a little rusty, but it is also nice to know that Cleveland went ahead and took care of business, swept Charlotte and Miami, and they are in a close one, with Charlotte up 76-75 with about 6 minutes left in the fourth. And like I said, I need to look at the brackets, because that makes no sense to me, because your 7th and your 6th seeded teams are still a possibility. But I got to say that I am glad to know, especially with the way the last year's playoffs went, and the fact that Kevin Love went down with an injury and Kyrie Irving went down with an injury, that there's no extra unnecessary games being played, and that Cleveland does have the opportunity to rest their players and not have any injuries. Oklahoma City and Dallas, they are at the half. Oklahoma is up 68-61. And then, of course, later on tonight, the Clippers are in action against Portland. But, I'm just glad that Cleveland took care of business. They'll have an opportunity to rest, and they do not have the bracket that I'm looking for. Oh, goodness. Tell you what, the Dallas is not too happy with Kevin Durant. Feels he's getting a little too physical. A little too physical for them. KD, quit wearing them out. Man, quit making grown men cry. Oh, goodness. Steph Curry, MRI reveals grade 1 MCL spring right knee. Tell you what, not what Warrior fans wanted to hear. I think everybody else out there, outside of Golden State fans, are happy. I mean, none of us wish injury on Steph Curry, but at least this makes the playoffs a little more interesting and potentially could give somebody in another team an opportunity. A healthy Steph Curry, I still at this point would have Golden State being our winner once again. Golden State star Steph Curry could miss 2 weeks with a grade 1 MCL sprain of his right knee. Curry underwent an MRI on Monday that showed no structural damage to his knee, and the opportunity remains for him to return to the playoffs within 14 days, which could mean he could be healthy enough to play in the Western Conference semifinals. He will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. The Vertical first reported the MRI results was timetable. The Warriors lead the Houston Rockets 3-1 in the first-round Western Conference Series with Game 5 on Wednesday. Curry injured his knee late in the second quarter of the Warriors' 121-94 Game 4 victory on Sunday in Houston. The Warriors would play the winner of the Los Angeles Clippers Portland Trail Blazers series in the Western semi-finals. Depending on who they hit, I don't even know if I would be rushing. And really, honestly, I don't know if I'm still even rushing to get back. I'm waiting to see Game 1 and even possibly Game 2. I'm waiting it out to see. I want If I am the Golden State Warriors, I want Steph Curry to be 100% by the time either we play San Antonio or as close to 100 as we are. And I understand that San Antonio is not a lock to be your representative in the Western Conference. I don't see any beating San Antonio. I'm sorry. It would shock me if anything. But regardless who they play, whoever they play in the Western Conference, that's who I want Steph Curry to be 100 for. And I'm sorry, but them worried about 2 weeks and worried about them playing the Clippers or Portland. No. Like, that shouldn't even be a concern at all. And that I'm Golden State, maybe garbage minutes, and I know that's really weird to say, and I said this earlier today, and it felt weird having this conversation with one of my regular customers earlier today, but garbage minutes the fourth quarter, maybe at best in this next series. And against whoever they play, Portland or the Clippers, and that's depending on how the series goes. And I know it's weird to say garbage minutes for Steph Curry, but that's it. To kind of knock off the rust, nothing that's going to be strenuous, nothing that should cause players to be overly physical with Steph Curry. That's what I'm looking for. That way he finds his rhythm. He kind of gets a feel of where he's at. He's not cold. He's not rusted, and he doesn't take a chance of re-injuring anything. What's going to end up happening is Golden State's going to rush it. Golden State this is Steph Curry, and what's going to end up happening is they're going to miss out on going back to back, and I know that the injury is not necessarily related to the fact that they didn't rest, but it makes you wonder how much does this impact. Already 2 injuries in the first 3 games of the playoffs. I still strongly disagree with the Golden State Warriors' approach to the playoffs. I spoke for months. I think there were 20-something games out. How I did not agree with them going all in on setting this record, that the focus is on the wrong thing. And here we are. And Steph Curry missed, half of Game 2. Game 3 comes back for Game 4 and is now out for 2 weeks. 73-9. If you don't win the championship, it's all for nothing. I think Steph Curry, or the Golden State Warriors without Steph Curry, can beat everybody except for 2 teams. I think you can beat everybody but San Antonio, and you can beat everybody but Cleveland. As long as J.R. Smith continues being hot from downtown, and as long as the rest of the team just keeps shooting at the successful rate that they've been shooting, there's no doubt that a Steph Curry-less team can be beat by the Cleveland Cavaliers. And of course, that's just going to stir the whole pot. And we got to have one more season. One more season of them both going to the finals, because now you got to have a season where both teams are 100%. You know, it's kind of last year's knock on Golden State as well. You couldn't beat a Cleveland Cavaliers team if they had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love with LeBron James. So if Cleveland turns around and has the opportunity to win a championship without Steph Curry, and all it does is just stir the pot the other direction, and we got to have a third. We got to have a best of 3 at this point. So, I don't know. We're obviously going to keep our eyes on Steph Curry. We're going to keep our eyes on the decision that the Golden State Warriors make if I am head of the Golden State Warriors, I'm resting. I am not playing Steph Curry until I absolutely positively do have to. That is either until I play San Antonio, which I honestly think that's who you're going to be playing in the Western Conference Championship, or you find yourself down a game or so in a series, maybe even tied. Well, when you go to the next series against the Clippers or Portland, you should be up 2-0 regardless, with or without Steph Curry at home. If at any point that series turns and it's 1-1 or goes 2-2, then yes, maybe I start thinking about it. Till then, I don't. There's no doubt in my mind that I get Steph Curry some valuable feedback. But like that's just me. But again, I was the same guy that said, hey, I don't like the schedule. There's too many variables and factors that could play into them beating this record, and then I want my players to rest. And there's also a reason why the Cleveland Cavaliers and the San Antonio Spurs, in my opinion, are 4-0 sweeps of their series and rested and look very rested. And now get an opportunity to rest some more. There's a reason why Golden State doesn't look rested, and there's a reason why they did not sweep Houston. And now there's a reason why they got to play one more unnecessary game and one more opportunity for an injury to happen to somebody else. It's not like Klay Thompson's not had any injuries. It's not like Harrison Barnes has not been injured. It's not. Any given night. And you just open up the possibilities. You didn't take care of business the way it needs to be taken care of. And we'll obviously see how this all plays out, but I know two teams that are sitting right now at home and enjoying the night off and enjoying a nice little break. It's about another week before they even play again. They'll have an opportunity to watch film and not have to focus on them, but they'll be able to focus on their next opponent. And I mean, I have all the confidence in the world at the Oracle Center or Oracle Arena, whatever it is. Golden State is going to win Wednesday night and shut down Houston. I mean, you should never lose a game to Houston anyway. Two teams that are in the playoffs that were jokes. Houston and Detroit. Both of them should have been swept. Neither one of them should have ever found themselves on the victorious side of any game at all in the playoffs. Not against the two defending Eastern Conference champion and the Western Conference champion. It just never. And the Carl Edwards mids have started. As Carl Edwards Mims says, Carl still has not accepted my friend request. That is hilarious. For those that missed yesterday in Richmond International Raceway, things got a little interesting to wrap up the race. I tell you what, definitely interesting. Something I didn't honestly expect to happen. As I didn't expect Kyle Busch to get past. I didn't expect Kyle Busch to get past on the last lap, nor be the first person to be passed on the final lap in Richmond's history. As the last lap pass for the lead never happened in Richmond until Sunday. And teammate Carl Edwards was the man to do it. And not only did he do it, he pushed Kyle Busch out of the way to do it. I don't think looking at the video to me and watching the race, it just honestly looked like Kyle Busch thought that Carl Edwards was content of it being a 1-2 finish with it being Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, but Joe Gibbs Racing 1-2 finish. Carl Edwards just won the race last week. He's already in the chase. You had, 4 of the top 6 or 7 with Joe Gibbs Racing. You can throw in the affiliation, Martin Truex, and you had all 5 cars in the top 8 or 9 or whatever. I honestly, the way it looked, and now I could be wrong, but it honestly looked like Kyle Busch was thinking that, all right, this is Cousin Carl. Like, this is my teammate. He was unable as many times as he tried to push the envelope leading up to the last lap. He was unable to do so. So, not going to do anything to jeopardize us finishing 1 and 2. We've had a couple close calls with lap traffic, so this last lap we're going to chill. Carl Edwards had a whole other agenda. He wanted to be in victory lane. And it made things interesting. It kind of shook up. We watched the first few races, watched this team play nice. Restarts with the other driver getting front. Almost kind of like you follow team orders. And then we roll in this weekend, and you watch Carl Edwards move teammate out of the way. It's not what we were used to, and I think that was I think that's why I think Kyle Busch was kind of relaxed. Because we've been so used to, it almost being predictable how things were going to go when it came to teammates, more specifically Joe Gibbs Racing this year. Then this kind of threw a wrench at things. It's going to be interesting. I don't think so much this rest of this season. But once we get into the chase, I am very curious, do we go back to this moment? Did this change things on how this team approaches the rest of the season, but more specifically, the chase? I understand every driver's for themselves. Everybody's looking for the big picture. But I also understand that if you got an opportunity to let your teammate into the next round or Brad Keselowski into the next round, you're going to let your teammate in. You're going to find a way. And I don't know, I'm just curious to see how, the relationship goes from this point forward with Kyle Busch and Carl. And I'm not saying that Carl Edwards was wrong. I do not believe. If I was Carl Edwards, I'd have done the same thing. If it was Kyle Busch, we would have expected the same thing. If the roles were reversed, there is no doubt in our mind we would have expected Kyle Busch to either push Carl Edwards out of the way or even probably dump him. And it really is interesting to me what would have happened if Kyle Busch really held on to that. Even though it was a slight nudge, he got very loose. And I definitely would have been interesting, and I really would have loved to know how that meeting would have went if Kyle Busch would have been dumped into the wall. That would have changed the point of view, would have changed the attitude. I mean, you could tell in the post-race interview, Kyle Busch was not happy at all. I am uncertain whether it was the fact that it was a teammate that pushed him out of the way, or if it was more to do with the fact that Kyle Busch just loves to win races and loves to be competitive, and we're not used to seeing him be the one that gets outmaneuvered to finish a race. And if that had more to do with it than maybe it being a teammate, but tell you what, as dominant as Joe Gibbs Racing has been, and it seems that everybody has been on the same sheet of music, to go from that to what potentially lies in front of Joe Gibbs Racing, this ought to make things. One, I want to see if they are still dominant. I wonder if this changes anything. Does it change the focus? Does it change the flow of the team? Does this change anything at all? Because we have seen teams, one little ripple effect, and things have kind of fell apart. So, obviously, that is going to be something that we're going to definitely keep an eye on. Going into the weekend, obviously, unfortunately, that's the word I'm looking for. Unfortunately, the focus got shifted when it came to Tony Stewart in the wrong direction, and it's unfortunate. Going in this weekend, it was supposed to be a weekend about Tony Stewart being back at the track, his farewell tour, what he needs to do to possibly finish in the top 30 with the win to get into the chase. Well, that's going to open, if that happens, that's going to open a whole other can of worms. I don't think that the fans are going to I don't think the fans are going to have the same reaction if Tony Stewart pulls off what Kyle Busch did as when Kyle Busch did last year. But this weekend was supposed to be a focus to having one of the NASCAR's greats back in, three-time champion, team owner, all the great things he has done on and off the track. That's what this weekend was supposed to be about. And instead, because, and this is where Steve and myself did not quite agree in the last, on Rubbing His Racing, he opened his mouth about his concerns and the safety and the fact that there needs to be 5 lug nuts on those tires. And NASCAR slaps him with a $35,000 fine, which Steve, fully agrees. That's the he totally agrees with the fine. I don't necessarily fall into the same line of thinking, because safety to me is first, and when you're not enforcing these crew members to make sure all 5 lug nuts are on, that you can potentially leave pit road with 2, 3, 4 lug nuts. I think that you're taken away from safety, and we talked about this last week on the show. I think when we had Jay Havens on the show, I believe it's who. That safety should come first, and I think to make pit stops quicker or pit stops more convenient and take away from the safety, I don't like the fine. I like the fact that Tony Stewart spoke his teeth. He didn't bash NASCAR. He just voiced his concern. He voiced his concern about a safety issue with NASCAR, not bashing NASCAR, not bashing Mike Hilton, not bashing Brian France, but making his thoughts and his concerns about one of the safety points in NASCAR. That's where I kind of have the issue. Now, the driver council stepped in, said they're going to pay the fine. Tony Stewart then forward said, you know what, I said it, my fine, I'll take care of it. But the money you guys are going to give to me, we're going to go ahead and donate that I think it was an autism awareness, just being Autism Awareness Month. One of the foundations. And so that was really cool. And it was, and like Steve had brought out and rubbed his racing, that was kind of one of the first times we've really heard Tony Stewart, talk about giving money or doing these kind of things. Usually what a lot of Tony Stewart does is behind the scenes. And it's fortunate, but it's unfortunate. I love athletes that do what they do and don't make a big deal about it. They don't sit there and post it on their social media. They don't sit there and they don't try to gain popularity for it. They don't try. I love those athletes. I'm not big on let's quote, and I probably just said that backwards. I don't like athletes that make a big deal about it, try to gain popularity, try to make big. I like those that do their things, let it go unrecognized. If somebody steps up and says something, then they did it, not the athlete making a big deal about it. And that's the way Tony Stewart is. Tony Stewart has done so many things behind the scene, and unless you are around Tony Stewart or unless you've had conversations with those that are involved with Tony Stewart or have been directly affected by Tony Stewart, you wouldn't know none of this stuff. Having Eric Saunders on the Racing with Big Sweat and the 110 Nation Sports Show and getting an idea as he works directly with Tony Stewart Racing, getting a little bit more of an idea of how great of a person Tony Stewart is. But, I became a Tony Stewart fan more when he became team owner. And started letting his opinions and his thoughts be heard, and that's what made me like Tony Stewart. But to be honest, when he let NASCAR know his thoughts and his feelings and Goodyear and anybody else, when he let his passion and his mouth and his desire and his fire kind of get out there. That's what made me change my view on Tony Stewart. And this was just another weekend that, to me, I'm not going to say NASCAR was necessarily in the wrong. They have these rules for a reason, and it's hard to say, well, you didn't find Tony Stewart when he said this about NASCAR, but you're going to find him for saying this about NASCAR. But at the same time, Tony Stewart to me was not bashing NASCAR, and that's, and I know NASCAR doesn't want to get into, okay, well, that was an opinion, that wasn't really bashing, that was a suggestion, that is, but I know that they don't want to try to police everything that everybody says and understand pretty much if you got something negative to say or don't agree with something, either keep it yourself or want to find you. I understand that, that they're not in the business to make judgment calls about this. But I'm sorry, when it's got to do when it's got to do with safety, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a fine line there, and that's just me. And Tony Stewart saying what he had to say, and obviously NASCAR is seeing it as now they're talking about if a tire falls off, you're looking at a fine and a crew chief, and your members are looking at a 4-game or 4-race suspension. And then if you are caught after the race with missing glove nuts, it's a suspension and I think a fine as well, but a lesser, something to that nature. So, obviously NASCAR is reevaluating and they're making some changes, and I suspect us to see, something more in stone. But and I know, and I think that Steve pointed out that it was Kurt Busch. It has been years that the tire just fell off. But my concern is, what happens if it does? What happens if this weekend at Talladega you have somebody shorting and they get what they thought 3, maybe only get 2, but maybe they do get 3. Maybe that third one's not a very tight level. And they come around at a turn 4, and as we get closer to pit road, someone's tire just comes off. It just happens to bounce in the direction, or maybe it just rolls in the direction, comes off the left tire, left front, rolls down, takes a bounce, kind of bounces through the grass, gets up on pit road. Let's say at this point, when it hits between the grass and the pit road, maybe there's a bump somewhere or unevenness, and it causes this to bounce. Or what did you say? There's spots in the pit road wall that the cars, use that to go back to the garage area. Say that tire comes through that area. Either way. Or it bounces over the pit wall. At 200 miles an hour, even a car that's going pit road speed, a body is not stopping that tire. But let's say that tire comes off a car going 200 miles an hour. What do you think the damage is going to happen? How much damage is going to happen from that tire if it gets loose? That it gets behind the pit wall with the crew, the officials, the families, the fans, everybody back there. Because one body is not stopping that tire. It's going to take, hell, even if that tire was to bounce and hit the crew, the pit, the crew's equipment, and the pit box, can you imagine the damage it would do to that? Let alone a person? That's my concern right there. Not so much do I think that the likelihood is very high on the tire falling off. But what if it does? What damage is going to happen? How many people are seriously going to be hurt from it? And that to me is that concern right there is enough for me to think, what? All 5 lug nuts. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Other Richmond International Raceway news out of NASCAR. As we watched the last lap or two, we got a lot of Samantha Busch TV time. And just like any passionate wife, a wife that loves her husband, supports her husband, has taken on the race wife role, she does not want to see her husband lose. And so it seems at some point in the last lap, which I think I recall seeing her mouth it, but she used the word shit when he was passed. Not that you actually heard it. Not that it was actually her facing the camera. It was a side view. But she used the word shit. That, honestly, she could have said shoot, and it still looked the same. She could have said ship. It could have looked the same. There's a couple other words, chip. There's a few other words that she could have used, and until she apologized, was proactive and apologized when she realized she was being televised. She had no idea that she was on TV. That she used the word. And what do you know? She is proactive, makes the point to apologize, and of course the Kyle Busch haters and the Samantha Busch haters got to crawl from underneath the rocks. Couldn't just leave it alone as, okay, you know what, TV caught you saying a word that we couldn't even hear you say. You were upset your husband got passed on the last lap. You proactive, you apologized to the world, and left it at that. No, it couldn't have been left at that. And fortunately for her, Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. both come to her defense on Twitter and you know, kind of add their 2 cents to it to kind of, you know, show support. I love it. I think we can only name 2 wives that we found that would be that passionate enough. And that would be Delana Harvick and Samantha Busch. I love Samantha's passion for what her husband does. One, that is the only way she can make it through a race season, first of all. I mean, this man drives everything. 36 Sprint Cup weekends, not to include any off weekends that he does, the Truck Series or Xfinity Series, to include anything else he does throughout the week that he decides to race, to include, the list goes on. And for her to be that passionate and to really embrace the driver's wife role, I have nothing but respect for her. I wish more wives were passionate and fired up about what their husbands do. It's like they just kind of go through the roles. Harvick's wife and Bush's wife, they passionately want to be there. They passionately embrace the opportunity. Even with having a child, even the whole family thing, Samantha is 110% in. And there's no doubt in my mind, it's like, look, go ahead and do what you got to do now. We're going to have a long, fun retirement life together. So go ahead, baby, make all this money you can make now, have a successful career, because one day it's going to be just us and the kids, us and the dogs, us and whatever. We are going to have a wonderful life together. And I know that's a lot of it, and plus just be able to buy whatever you want to buy. It's got to be nice. But, I mean, Samantha's one of those that I can see if there was something that she truly, passionately wanted to have changed in NASCAR, that it legitimately needed to be changed. If there was some rule, there was something, it didn't got to be directly track related. It has to do something with the fans, has something to do, whatever the case may be. She is one of those people that I feel, and right now I think there's only two wives out there, her and Harvick's wife, that they could pull the resources and get the support and passionately help change the sport in a positive direction if they really found something that passionate about, something that they were that passionate about. It's not like we were listening in on the scanners and we heard a driver cussing and dropping, cuss words. It's not like she was on a post-race or a driver was on a post-race interview and they were dropping cuss words. This was somebody that was caught on national TV, and like I talked about, on Rubbing His Racing, I know specifically, I don't remember which game it was I was watching, but I heard cuss words dropped. And it's not that TNT or whoever was doing the coverage was, doing an interview. This was stuff that was going on in the courts. This was stuff, the calls that were being made, and just the microphones having to pick it up. And I don't hear their to do about, I can't believe that basketball player said that cuss word, or during that game, I heard that cuss word. But here we are. Samantha Busch doesn't know she's even on TV. You can't hear what she says. All you can hear is kind of take her fist and kind of pound them on the counter, and it's like, shit. Like, her man just lost and turned 3-4 at Richmond. And that was the extent of it. And yet, you got the anti-Bush fans out there that got to run with it. Like, absolutely, positively decided, you know what? We're going to be an ass about this, and we're going to discuss our displeasure of her saying a dirty word, as it's been word. Dale Jr. comes out and says, saying shit isn't a big deal as it used to be. You'll be okay. It don't mean shit happens. That was Dale Jr.'s reply to her text, or her tweet, trying to show his support. Tony Stewart went on to say, don't apologize for what you feel. Don't lose sleep over others' opinions that don't matter. It's your life, not theirs. And that kind of feeds into my point of, Samantha, to me, being one of those drivers out there, or one of those wives out there that if she found something passionately that she felt that needed to be changed when it comes to NASCAR, that she could lead a group of supporters and help make an impactful change. When you have some of the biggest names coming to your defense over something that little, that says a lot. And it says a lot about people's opinions about Kyle Busch when it comes to those that actually matter, not the haters out there in the grandstand, but those that are in the sport. And it also says a lot about Samantha, how people view Samantha Busch and their opinion of Samantha Busch. Next weekend, the sporting world gets turned upside down. The NASCAR world gets turned upside down. We go from short track racing to Talladega. Yes, I'm not going to lie, I'm still kind of a little bitter because I was hoping to be at Talladega next week. No, I'm not going to say bitter. I ain't really. I mean, yes, I would love to have been part of the media. I would have loved to have been part of the media at Talladega. Got my first opportunity to be at Talladega. So part of me, yes, it is kind of still like, you know what, I want to be there. But the other part of me is like, you know what, we've only been turned down for a couple events, not many. And so I am not going to, I'm not going to live about it. But Super Speedway is one of my favorite tracks. I love the Super Speedways. I love the Super Speedways. I love the pack racing. I love the 3-wide, the 2-wide, picking the right lane. There's a lot of things that I love about the Super Speedways. And definitely looking forward to 2.66 mile Talladega next weekend. Very, very excited about the opportunity to at least be able to sit down and enjoy some great racing. Like I said, yes, we would have loved to have been there, but I'm not going to dwell on that. But at least I'm still going to have the opportunity to sit down and take in some great racing. So, tell you what. Yes. Cannot complain. It just amazes me how butthurt people get over the stupidest thing. It really does. Like, if that would have been Dale Jr. that would have said, and even if he would have said it on national TV, that kind of would have been the end of it. Like, there would have not have been to do about it. But because of Carl Edwards, or I'm just call Carl Edwards, because it's Tom Busch, it's hard to do, and it blows my mind. I don't know. I don't get fans sometimes. The way they pick and choose their battles sometimes. Oh, Tom Brady back in the news. This is interesting. I don't even know. I don't even know how to touch on this. Like, I don't know how something that got over. I don't know how you overturn something when there's no evidence. And now they're talking about pretty much that Goodell is God at this point. He pretty much do whatever he wants. I don't get it. Really makes Goodell Tom Brady's God. Nothing has changed. There's not like all of a sudden there's actual evidence or any other evidence or anything. And so I don't get how it can be ever changed. But on Monday, at the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit didn't just reinstate a 4-game suspension of New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. It reasserted or even increased the astonishing disciplinary powers of NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, powers the players' union naively handed him, of course. Deflategate has been debated and written about ad nauseum, including or even especially here, about the only undeniable fact from the case is that the footballs in the AFC Championship a couple of seasons ago weren't unnaturally deflated, and yet that's not been proven. There's no actual proof that they were even under-deflated. It's just hearsay. The balls that they did check, they were within the regulation. Science proves that. Unfortunately, science isn't a big thing in the NFL. Ideal golf law and faulty measuring explains away the crime or point to numbers so minuscule no reasonable person could see them as a fact of grand conspiracy. The footballs just weren't deflated. As such, there was no deflation to punish. Everything else should be moved and considered nothing more than case study of confirmation bias and the power of inaccurate yet highly prejudicial media leaks. Or in the case of every non-NFL paid scientist, and even for the most part, the NFL paid ones too, versus Roger Goodell, you choose to believe Roger Goodell is so, well, good luck with that. In this case, though, as the majority opinion of Judge Denny Chin and Barrington D. Parker make clear, Goodell can conclude, infer, imply, invent, and pretty much do whatever he wants. Goodell is God, and the players have to accept that. They helped make him that way after all via that last collective bargaining agreement. Let's focus on one small argument, and that has become a massive case. How and why Goodell decided to suspend Brady 4 games rather than follow the written procedures, if not at least the spirit of the other uniform equipment violation section of the league procedures. Rather than follow the rule book, Goodell determined Brady guilty of something that equals to the use of performance-enhancing drugs. Brady's side argued the applicable violation, if there was one, was akin to the use of stickum on gloves. The benefit of stickum like an under-deflated ball is to improve grip of the players. Chief Judge Robert Katzman, writing the dissenting opinion in favor of Brady, agrees, citing the officials' league policy for players. He notes, the league justification for prohibiting stickum that affects the integrity of the competition and can give a team an unfair advantage is nearly identical to the commissioner's explanation for what he found problematic about the deflation, that it reflects an improper effort to secure a competitive advantage and it threatens the integrity of the game. Moreover, the procedure for guarding against the use of stickum, referee inspection of equipment, gloves, is the same as guarding against deflation, referee inspection of equipment, footballs. The penalty for getting caught stickum on your gloves, something a player would be acutely, not merely generally aware, try a fine of $8,268. Getting caught a second time, it jumps to $16,537. How and why Goodell decided to go from a low-level fine for what is football's version of a minor misdemeanor to a serious felony and a quarter-season suspension, including the loss of four-game checks that tally way more than $8,000. The original ruling could have cost Tom Brady about $1.8 million in game checks, according to the website SportTrack, per Brady's 2016 deal. However, it may have be as little as $235,294, considered a small victory for the quarterback. My whole thing is, how do you, the general public, what is it, Deflategate, Tom Brady versus the NFL. The NFL accused Tom Brady and the New England Patriots of deflating football in 2014. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots say they didn't do this. We asked people whether they believe Tom Brady and the New England Patriots or the NFL. Here's the result. 16.3% of the people believe Tom Brady, 43% people believe the NFL, 40% just don't know. So, and that's general public. Now, they have a breakdown of the New England, more specific, the New England area, and obviously it's more in favor. It's almost 60% believe Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. My whole thing is, you had no proof at all. You thought that there was text messages, which even if he destroyed his phone to cover up any text messages that had to do with the Deflategate, you're hell bent over that there were these text messages. Well, then that means, to me, you must have some kind of insight on these text messages. Therefore, there should be text messages or emails, whatever the case may be, at the other end. Therefore, if you are so hell bent over that this is what really happened, then why have you not collected them at the other end? If that's the case, then you should have no issues getting these emails, text messages, whatever the case may be. I'm sorry. Now, your whole claim to fame that the reason why he broke, he destroyed his phone was to cover that up. Well, I mean, one, have you seen his wife? Like, I am sure that they're inappropriate pictures. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I have never dated a supermodel. I know, newsflash, I get it. But I have very inappropriate pictures on my phone that is nobody else's business. And therefore, if I'm going to court and I know that my phone is something that people are going to look into, yes, I'm going to destroy it. I might take out the memory card so I can have those pictures to put into my next phone. I'm not going to say that I'm going to get rid of all the nice inappropriate pictures that I have or have had over the years. But, if I destroy or lose any of them, which, I only have inappropriate pictures of one person in my phone, but, that's my current situation, and so, therefore, that is what it is, but I have never just, handed over my phone and said, you know what, you can look at what you want to look at. I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. And, if I have destroyed or gotten rid of inappropriate pictures in the past, that's my own doing. But at the same time, like I said, nobody's going to go through my phone. My phone is my phone and my business. It's one of those arguments I used to have back in the day. It's not so much, that I'm stressing that you go through my phone. It's more of I read everything that comes through my messages first. And you want to look at it after, that is what it is. But my stuff is my business first. I am going to read my text messages first. I'm going to read my emails first. I'm going to read my tweets first. I'm going to, they are for me. Now, if I so choose to let you look at it, or, if I have nothing new on my phone and you want to look at it, then, that's a whole different discussion. And that's one of the arguments I had for many, many years. Not only that, I people are very one way with when it comes to that. Oh, I'm going to look at your phone, but don't look at my phone. And this is an argument I've had recently. Here, you look at my phone, but let me look at your phone. And when you say no, then okay, then the argument's over with. We ain't got nothing else to argue about. But I completely understand it. If Tom Brady destroyed his phone, and regardless if he is guilty or not, why he destroyed his phone. I know what I've had on my phone I've see my messages. I have seen, I know what I've had on my phone. And I can only imagine what has been on his phone, one, from dating a supermodel and being around other supermodels, but the lifestyle that they lead. And I'm not saying Tom Brady leads this wild party lifestyle, but in his days, especially before marriage, I am sure that he's had interesting altercations. And therefore, what is on his phone is his business. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. I'm a stickler on my phone is my business, your phone is your business, her phone is her business, and that's just the way it is. I don't feel that necessarily people are doing inappropriate things or things wrong. I'm just saying at the same time, that is their phone. That is their friends, that is their family, that is what that is. And to reopen this case, to me, I understand the courts want to give Roger Goodell the power that the players actually gave him. But there's got to be some kind of check balances somewhere. Roger Goodell cannot be the god of the NFL. He has, one, made too many piss-poor decisions in his reign as god of the commissioner of the NFL. But two, one man's vision and one man's direction is not necessarily everybody else's vision or direction or the best for that sport direction or vision. And that's where to reopen this up, and one which like I said, without any other evidence, I don't know how you could suspend somebody when you have no proof. And that's my whole thing. You open it up, you're giving them back the 4-game suspension because, you want to give Roger Goodell the power back to be able to do this. Okay, well, I understand giving them the power, but when you have no proof, how do you suspend somebody? Because two teams that got their butts handed to them, the Baltimore Ravens, the Indianapolis Colts, felt that the balls were underdeflated. They felt that they were cheated. I'm sorry, but no, you guys were just the worst team. You just sucked. You really had no business being in the playoffs, and you had really no business playing the New England Patriots. But you can't suspend somebody for a game all on speculation. Like, the random balls that they have were all within the variance that they were allowed to have. Some of the balls that were underplayed weren't even theirs. They were the other teams. And of course, I'm sure that there were some that were that were, but you had a whole bunch of variations. I have a serious issue with this whole. That's just like saying that Joe Smith is guilty, and he happens to own a gun, and so we're going to speculate that we ain't got no proof. We ain't got proof it's even the same gun. Right? But we're going to suspend you because you happen to be a gun owner. And I just. I don't. I honestly, truly, I've tried to wrap my mind around this. And what's even crazier to me about this is the fact that here we are almost like 2 years removed from it. Does it at this point, even if all of a sudden we had new proof, just hypothetically, all of a sudden we got proof, we got text messages, we got emails, we got pictures, whatever, that there is an airlock type case that Tom Brady or the New England Patriots staff had anything to do with the altercations of the PSIs to the football. Honestly, at this point, does it really matter? Does I mean, because we can go back, and I'm sure that we can find different players that, I took, PEDs or HGH or, I did this or I did that didn't follow the rule. Should we be able to go back years later and remove stats and suspend players? And, 2 years removed. Not only is there not any new evidence or anything, but now it's really pointless. We're looking at we're looking at 2 years removed. Like, it's pointless. I don't get it at all. Like, why? That'd be like finding out that, I don't even know. It's hard to even compare it to anything because there's no proof. To me, it'd be like speculating that before the rule change and you didn't have to have 5 lug nuts on your tire in a NASCAR race, that you found out that there's a possibility that the year Tony Stewart won his championship and won like 5 races in the chase, that 2 of those races, or no, better yet, just one of the races, they tied at points. It came down to him winning more races in the chase, what broke the tie between him and Carl Edwards. But let's say that there's a speculation that maybe one of those races, at one of those pit stops, that he ended up in one of the races he won, that they only got 4 lug nuts on. And we're going to go back and we're going to investigate something that really is pointless at this point. Like that, I think that's like the best scenario or the best example I think I could even give at this point. Like I don't. With all the things that actually matter in the NFL right now, with rule changes and trying to improve the safety of the sport, while not making the sport basically be a 2-hand touch game, the domestic violence issue, which is still a freaking joke, unfortunately, and it's really a slap in the face that the NFL keeps putting these domestic violence commercials on because they're not doing anything to prevent it. They're just slapping the players on the wrist and letting them continue to slap their girlfriends around and wives around and whatever the case may be. But all these other issues going on, this is what we're going to consume another season talking about. This is what we're going to consume the resources and everything else once again. And it's people talk about the WWE and how it's drama and it's a storyline and a male soap opera. The NFL is really no better. The only difference is not 100% of the hits are legit. Not 100% of the hits going on in the WWE is legit. Some of it's just fake. Regardless how hard or how much it actually still might hurt, it's still some of it's fake. They're still all athletes. But it's getting to the point that the NFL, honestly, is really no different. You know, we could say that back in the day with Brett Favre, and you know the drama that went on with whether or not he was going to retire or not, the drama with T.O., the drama with Randy Moss, Johnny Manziel, Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell. I mean, all these drama queens that went on and on and on and on and on throughout the years in the NFL. Now here we are once again with another. It's like here we are with another Friday episode of your local soap that we're going to be hanging on the edge of our seat, waiting for Monday's show to come on so we can finish the dramatic climax before the weekend came about, and see how this is all going to play out for Tom Brady, for the New England Patriots, and what's going to change. I mean, obviously, if this holds up this time, the NFL is going to have to rewrite the rules. They're going to have to get some of that power back. They're going to have to make it where Roger Goodell is not God, and so. But we hit the 10:30 mark, and we got a guest, kind of a last-second kind of thing, kind of throwing in there. And so I want to shift gears on what I'm talking about, because me and this guest, we have beaten this subject down many times. This was back when this was a big topic. This was something that we talked about quite a few times because it was a big topic then. This is when she was on the show on a regular basis, but we've had a couple other topics throughout the night show that I kind of want to go in that direction for a minute. And more specifically here at first, as I put her on the show, as I got Shorty in the studio, more specifically when Shorty and I, when we crossed paths back in, it was right after, as a matter of fact, it was right after the New England Patriots won the Super Bowl. It was the Monday after. When we crossed paths, this was kind of when we were really pushing.
No.
Yeah.
No. The New England Patriots won last year.
No, they did not.
Yes.
No.
The Seattle Seahawks won that year.
No, they did not.
They played against Broncos. They played against Denver.
Broncos won last year. The Patriots won the year before.
Yeah, that was this year.
The Broncos just won this year.
Yeah. The Patriots won last year, and the year before that was Seattle.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going.
I'm
no?
what? I'm what?
Okay.
Come on, say it. I'm what?
You're short. That's why we call you Shorty.
Right.
All right. It was after the Seattle Seahawks beat down the Denver Broncos. I believe that.
The year they didn't show up?
Yeah. And we happened to cross paths, which we've had this discussion a few times. It was kind of weird how we didn't cross paths at that point, before then, because at that point I was in the gym very heavy. I was living by myself, and when I say heavy, I was in the gym about 3 hours a day at least. And it was months that I was in there at the same time every night. So it was beyond me how our paths didn't cross up to that point. Recrossed. And Shorty used to work for me back in the day, and you know we ran into each other many times. But it had been months at that point when we ran back into each other. But one of the things, and this is kind of going back to the Samantha Busch thing. And my applauding her for her passion and her desire to be with somebody that has that passion. You know, being a driver's wife, that's got to be difficult. And one of the things that had drawn Shorty in and wants her to be involved with the 110 Nation and myself more specifically was my passion for the 110 Nation and my dedication and my desire to put 110 Nation on the map. And when you see someone like, and I don't know if you know all the details, but Samantha Busch you got fans out there that were upset because you couldn't see her say it. When you couldn't hear her say it, she didn't know she was on national TV, and it was really only brought to attention when she proactively apologized when she went back and saw that she said shit on the air, that you could read her lips say it. And so fans, are the haters out there are kind of running with this. I love the passion. I love the fact that she passionately loves being at the track. She passionately loves being a driver's wife, that she is very active. She is there, even raising a kid and even having a family. How important is it, in your opinion, for one specifically, Samantha, to have that passion, but how important is it for significant others to, especially in the sports? The sports is a 24/7 thing. It is very rare that we have a day off where there is not something sports related, and of course because of the time zones, there's not too many points of the day. There might not be much to talk about, or might not much be going on, but there is something sports related going on around the world 24/7. How important is it for a significant other to be passionate about whoever they're married to, their sport, but how important is it, such as your sake, to grab into that passion and want to be a part of what is going on? How important is that for someone?
Well, I mean, it all depends. It really all depends on how much you care about the person that is the one that the one you're being passionate with. I mean, if you were just you were like cutting me off, what?
Oh, I think I was going to finish.
I mean, like I said, it all depends on the person that you're trying to be passionate with. I mean, if it was just some stranger I never really met, and I just happened to meet them, and just went on a date or two with them or whatever, and they were passionate about jigsaw puzzles. I don't think I would be able to just connect with them like that. I mean, you were breaking up really bad. What?
I said, did you ever imagine being passionate about jigsaw puzzles?
No.
All right. It just, Samantha Busch is one of those few wives out there that are very passionate and are very vocal. Like I said earlier in the show, I feel that if there was something that she felt that needed to be changed in NASCAR, it don't even have to be on the track. It could be fan related. It could be females related when it comes to sport. She's one of those few wives out there that would be proactive, but two, could gain the support and really make a difference if it's something she actually wanted to be changed. And I know from personal experience, being in one relationship for 13 years, that my significant other did not have the passion at all, did not care for sports at all. And they go from that to our situation for the last 2.5 years, and you have the passion, you have the drive, you want to be around sports, where you wanted to go to the Chip Ganassi events, you wanted to go to the races, you wanted to, anything that has to do with sports, if Shorty can be there, Shorty will be there. And, it might not be her top favorite sport, it might be something that she can really care less, but because it's a sport and because of her passion and her desire to be that supporting cast and be that support system, she'll be there. And how one going into the being part of the 110 Nation and going into our whole relationship. Did you ever realize that you had this much passion for sport? I mean, I knew you knew you liked sports and you enjoyed sports, but did you realize how much of a passion you had for for sports? And was it different for you to not only realize where you were when it came to sports, but to be involved as you were?
What was I mean, I was listening, but like you were rambling, and I don't remember the initial question. I mean, I remember I just.
Did you realize how
passionate I was?
Yeah, did you realize? You knew you liked sports and you liked to watch sports and you enjoyed them, but did you really realize how?
I knew I liked football. I had went to a NC State game when NC State basketball game when I was in 3rd grade. I didn't really have any interest in it. And when I was a teenager, I spent a lot of time at my neighbor's house at White Lake, and every Sunday the race was on. And, I would sit there and I would watch it, but I never really cared for it. But I was a teenager then, and I was pretty much, into being a weirdo and partying. So I mean, sports wasn't at the top of my to-do list,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I guess just as I got older, I guess, and I saw your passion when, we got together. I saw your passion for it. I guess that just, drew me in, and now, I'll sit there and I'll turn the game on. Hell, one day you were doing a show and you happened to walk out while I was sitting on the couch watching football, and you were like, "Whoa, you're sitting in here watching football, and I'm not even in here." That was, I don't know.
I don't know, when it comes out more, I guess as we deal with sports, I guess that's why I'm looking at it. But I just feel that sports more in specific, you've got to have that passion. And your significant other has to have that passion, because it's not one of those things, okay, it's just a job, or it's not one of those things that, okay, we just, go 10 minutes up the road. No, even with us, with the media, it's, I'm driving 10 hours to Atlanta, or I'm driving for I don't know how many hours to Bristol. I'm driving 6 to 8 hours to Kentucky, or we're driving all day long to go to Homestead. You genuinely got to have that passion. And when you're an athlete, I think, unfortunately, for a lot of these athletes, they fall in love with the first cute face that comes across their way, and don't find somebody that passionately loves the sport as well. And we see athletes out there, and more specifically NASCAR right now, Samantha Busch and Delaney Harvick, that passionately love the sports and is, have affected the sport one way or another. And I applaud not only those ladies, but also applaud those guys for finding, somebody that passionately wants to be involved. It is hard, like I said, this One Ten Nation was 2.5 years already in the making before Shorty came along, and I know the difficulties it was for myself to be with somebody that had no passion at all for sports, had no desire anything to sports, did not want to talk sports, did not want to watch sports, did not want me to be on the show doing sports, and
why are you? I'm confused. If she didn't want anything to do with it, then why are you Mr. CJ?
Because that's what I was called.
I understand that, but I understand. I also know the actual meaning behind Mr. CJ, and it was supposed to be I know what CJ stands for. Just curious as to how that came about if she wasn't even.
Okay, I'm gonna educate everybody else, since she opened a can of worms, and I don't want to have, especially those in the I-95 network that listen to the show and really feel lost right now. They don't know really anything to do with the background here. When occupation changes happened, I had to supplement my income, and I came across an ad to make money online. It was attached to something else that somebody sent me that's not what they were sending me. It just had to be part of it. And after a couple weeks of going through all this, setting up everything, that's when I finally found out what we was doing. And then I had to pick what I was going to do when it came to writing on the blog. What genre was I going to do? Was I going to? And there's still a few of them out there. You know, I've worked in the pizza business on and off for, God knows, 10, 15 years. I don't even know how many years. And that's still a passion of mine. And it is one of those things that, yes, one day I would love to have a blog and visit just various different pizza places. And be able to write about it and talk about it. Pizza is one of those very few other things that actually I have a passion for. You know, I had free reign to experiment with different pizzas. I learned how to make homemade, you know, tiramisu, learn how to make various, you know, just tinker with it, dessert pizzas. I've worked in a New York style pizza. I've worked in other little craft hole in the wall, or not hole in the wall, but garbage pizzas, you know, franchise, you know, like Pizza Hut and a couple other that just, you know, it was just kind of processed garbage. But I genuinely have a passion to not only, you know, do pizza, but to put my own stamp in the pizza world, you know. But back to what I was talking about anyway. I decided sports was where I wanted to go, you know, other than the fact that, you know, I was one of those very few kids, that got up early in elementary school to watch TV. But when I did, or because I did, I watched SportsCenter. I got up an hour and a half before, and I would watch SportsCenter until it was time for me to actually get up and get motivated and get ready for school. And it was one of those things that I felt, okay, not only do I have a passion for it, but sports are 24/7. There's not a time of the year that especially in the 5 major groups alone, NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL, and NASCAR, there's always one of them going. So there's always something to talk about. And so I decided I was going to do sports. And so when we was trying to figure out what we was going to call the site, my legal first name is Jason, and the mother of my child, the name she went by was Chrissy. She grew up in an area that they just called her by her middle name, which was Christine. They just called her Chrissy. So that's kind of how CJ Sports even came about. It was Chrissy Jason Sports. And right after we got that all finalized and decided that's what we were going to go with, she decided that not only just, you know, I knew she didn't have a passion for sports. I was looking for someone that was going to help with the social media, the logistic part of it, not so much the sports side of it. She decided that she did not want to spend her time on the computer, social media, and helping with that, even though that's what she did all day long, just talking to people. So she bowed out gracefully, and so it was already named. We'd already, you know, got the domain and everything else. And within the first few emails of other people that wanted to be affiliated with me, they started calling me Mr. CJ Sports. And so that's kind of how the whole Mr. CJ Sports even came about. Even though technically it's my first name and last name initial switch, so I mean it's still part of my name. But yes, originally it had to do with my ex, the mother of my child, and my name in sports. And you know, once people started emailing me and referring to me as Mr. CJ Sports, which just kind of shocked me and kind of threw me for a loop because I just never expected it. It's just random. That's why I've always stuck with Mr. CJ Sports. Now we was all. We was CJ Sports this and CJ Sports that for the longest time. And then, you know, that's part of what, you know, when I tell people that even though we've been around for 5 years, it wasn't really until the last 3 years when the 110 Nation Sports Show was, you know, created and born, and we went with that because we had CJ Sports and we had this and we had that. There was a lot of things that we learned trial and error over the first 2.5 years. But, you know, that's what Troy's in referencing to. And it made life difficult, you know, to have somebody in the household that didn't want you to do the shows and didn't want you to go to the events, that would tell you, yeah, you can go ahead and go, but then complain the whole time that you were going, or go visit their guy on the side because you're building a business kind of thing because there wasn't that passion there. Yes, it really made life difficult, and you know. the passion for the sports has never changed for her, but unfortunately for our situation and being parents and be able to actually be friends, you know, I talked about this last week. You know, a lot of people look at me weird. They kind of scratch their head when I said I wouldn't trade anything from the world. You know, there's a lot of things I gave up. If it be time with my children, if it be, you know, relationship, and you know, a lot of people, the first thing, well, how are you fine with you not spending all the time that you should have with your children because you were doing this and you were traveling there, and you know, the only thing I can tell people is the main reason. Well, I'm not saying the main reason, because the main reason is I wouldn't trade for the world because I love every aspect of what I do and all the relationships I've built and the people I've gotten to talk to. But one of the things that makes it easy is right now, even though I might not have been there for my children all the times I should have been, and there was a lot of, you know, either Halloween parties or this parties or this event or that event that I had to skip because I had shows and I had stuff to do. And you know, even though this ultimately killed a relationship of 13 years, and like I always point out, it was
that
a
ultimately killed it.
There was a lot of things wrong with that relationship, but where we are right now, where I am with the relationship with my daughter, where I am in the relationship with my son, and where I'm in the relationship with the mother of my child is probably the best it's ever been across the board with each and every last one of them. That also makes it very easy for me to say, you know what, I wouldn't trade none of it for the world because where we are right now, me and my daughter have our best relationship ever. Just spent the weekend, you know, signing up classes and hanging out with her. Me and my son and getting to see him almost every weekend now, and the fact that my ex and I are able to be friends and we can be parents and be on the same page and not have to sit there and bicker. Not have to worry about custody fights, not have to worry about, you know, I pay my child support, and it's all based off, you know, what we agree to, and you know, we use obviously the NC calculator, but it's all, and I pay more. I'm not one of those people that is just paying the minimum and that's what it says. I pay more. I take care of other things and do stuff in between, and we're all me and all three is, you know, those different relationships are the best that they've ever been. And I wouldn't trade that whole situation in the world, you know, when it comes to the whole sports stuff and that, because it all worked out in the end. I got fortunate. And I guess if it didn't work out and I didn't have a great relationship with my son or my daughter, not so much the ex, because that was up and down relationship in any way. So that here nor there, that's just kind of a cherry, you know, icing on the cake because it worked out and we're able to be great parents and be able to take care of what got to be taken care of. But, you know, if it didn't work out that way, then yes, I might not be able to say that or at least say that in such a positive way. But fortunately for me, it all worked out in the end, and it all worked out the best way it could have worked out. So I don't regret none of it. But I think it's cool to have somebody in my life that is as passionate about sports, as passionate about going to the events. You know, people don't realize, like, it is. I know I make it a little bit more stressful than it should be at times. I'm also.
Let me explain a little something to the listeners out there. A little is a very, very extreme under-exaggeration of what really happens. There is no little. I know what the schedule looks like. I know that. But when things happen that are out of your control.
But there's a lot of things that do happen that are within control that get procrastinated, pushed back, so that when something out of control happens, it really throws everything out of whack. And you know, I'll be the first to admit there's been a lot of the events we've gone to that event almost ended us. We've had our going.
I was starving. I threw my pizza out the window.
Was it Homestead? What was the event that
Homestead was the last event that when my car was sitting on the side of the road for a week because I thought the fuel pump went out and the gas gauge got stuck and ran out of gas.
That was one of those events that, and you know, and it's a little bit. I made it a little bit more stressful than that, but I also knew that I had a time frame that I had to get. And it wasn't so much the car broke down on the side of the road. It was the other events that led up to it that got pushed back that should have been taken care of. That, you know, I knew that I needed to be in Daytona at a certain time, so I didn't inconvenience my family for a free stay and everything else that went into play with that as well. But, yeah, I don't think if Shorty had the passion for the 110 Nation, didn't have the passion for sports, didn't have all this passion, I don't think that, one, that any of these events we would have made. Because there's been a lot of, like, it got ugly. Like, it got to the point that I unpacked the car, I think, or at least partially unpacked the car and went back inside. Like, it's if not for the passion for the sports and the passion for what we do, there's some events I don't think we would have made, and I don't think we would be sitting here having I don't think that we would have made it completely. So I definitely think, and you know, for fans to sit there and point out Samantha Busch and her saying that, I applaud her for that. I mean, you know, to show that passion, to have that passion, because their schedules are even tougher than ours, and you know, the fact that he does 2 or 3 races a weekend and all the travel and everything else. If she did not have that desire, if she did not have that passion, they wouldn't make it. And that's why there's a lot of athlete couples out there that don't make it. You know, a lot of these couples get together, athletes and you know, big names or even whoever they're with, don't, you know, a lot of times they're just together because it's just more of a publicity thing, or, you know, wow, I get to be with an athlete thing. You know, that's kind of their rise to fame, and that's kind of the extent of it. So if you have somebody that's passionately wanting to be there and passionately loves what you do, you know, that's key. And like I said, you know, there's been a lot of times that, you know, both the Chip Ganassi events, I can't remember Kentucky, I know Homestead. It seemed like there might have been one other event we both went to that if it was not for her passion for what we were doing, I don't know if we would have made it to the event, but 2, I don't know if there would have been us after those particular events because, you know, once we got there and the drive, the passion, the desire kind of took over and just kind of all the rest of it was just kind of nonsense at that point. And, you know, kind of by the time we got back from whatever event, you know, it was kind of water underneath the bridge. I don't know. And, you know, it is definitely different having someone that is passionately you know, you're equal.
Just say yes or no.
Say yes or no. I'll talk to you 1 second on that.
Well, I mean, I got to know now because I can't drive away without losing signal.
Sit right there. Just sit right there. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure tomorrow night, I do not have the guest list. I don't think we have confirmation. I know there's a possibility of Mason Mitchell making a return since we lost him with his battery dying when he was on last week or the week of our 5-year anniversary. Brody Boswell coming back on as well, as he's going to be driving for Triple M at Talladega. I know we're supposed to have them on. I'm not sure what day and what times. We'll get confirmations. We'll pass that on. Got to thank everybody over the I-95 Sports Network for playing our shows. I got to thank Steve for joining me earlier with Rubbing His Racing. Make sure you guys check that out at 7 p.m. on Sundays. Last night, hell of a show. If you guys missed it, Dirt Talk Hour. Make sure you guys check that out Sunday night. Check us out on Twitter. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1, the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation. Also, check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. I don't think there's anything else to put on. Shorty will probably be in the studio with us again for the next 2 nights. Be willing to bet. I don't want to put all her business here, but she got a little free time right now. So I'm sure she'll be hanging out in the studio with us. So looking forward to that and looking forward towards our guest tomorrow. We do have Izzo join us at 10:30, so we do got to look forward to some Stanley Cup playoff talk. So make sure you guys check that out as well. Yes, lady in my ear tells me I got 10 seconds as I'm switching over to the studio now. We're going to go ahead and call in. Hello again. Hello.
Toodles. Not hello. I said toodles. I meant bye.
Toodles. Hot dog, hot ziggity dog. Anyway, now the studio's pulling up. Thank everybody again for tuning in. Tomorrow night, be back here at 9 o'clock. Looking forward to doing this all over again. And once this finishes uploading the rest of the way, which I don't know why it takes up so long to upload anymore. It used to not take that long, but now it's uploaded. You guys have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
Looks like you already visited At Home this spring. The patio looks great, but why the makeover?
Because we're hosting the block party, because Sunday dinner's moved outdoors, because, Hunter's graduation and Emily's baby shower, and because sometimes I can just sit back and enjoy it.
Explore At Home's expanded selection of patio decor, like cushions starting at $9.99 and garden themes from modern to coastal. At Home, the home decor superstore. Any style, any budget, any reason to redecorate. Visit one of our 2 Raleigh-Durham area At Home superstores today.